Video number 3. Number 3.1. Video number 3 is just one long story. My dad had told me all my life to respect my elders on their way out. As he lay dying in our local hospice, he reached the point where he could no longer speak coherently. I noticed one day that he was watching something behind me, and he continued to watch it as it moved up toward the ceiling. Then he continued to watch as it moved over to the other wall and finally to being back behind me. Suddenly I saw out the corner of my eye a gray mist go by the side of my head as his eyes followed whatever it was until it landed beside him on the other side of the bed. He was incoherently talking to whatever it was. He was calm, so I remained calm. 2 days later he looked straight through me as he once again began his incoherent babbling. Again, he followed whoever he was seeing as he continued talking to them. I say then because this time I had 2 of the gray ghosts come by each side of my head. This time, according to his eyes, they apparently went to the foot of his bed. Now, looking directly where he looked, I saw absolutely nothing, although I had seen and felt their presence just moments before. This did bother me some, but he was happily chatting to whoever it was that I just let it go. The very next day at almost the exact same time I was in his adjoining bathroom when he began his garbled talking. I rush out to see if something is wrong, and once again there's a feeling of a presence along with numerous gray ghosts passing over and by my head. He immediately calmed down, and from his eyes I think they were sitting around his bed and he was smiling. When I left that evening I hugged him and told him good night and headed for my car. I had left something in his room that I needed at home, so I go back to retrieve it. He wasn't expecting me, and as I walked in he was reaching for the ceiling, and clear as anything he was screaming for everyone to get out of my mother's room. She had passed 3 years earlier, and then he called my mother's name and told her to save a seat for him. I continued in to get what I had left, and he never acknowledged that I was there. The next day when he started to mumble, I knew what was going to happen, only this time I felt them coming and a bunch of them swirled around my body before going over to visit with him. It was a very strange feeling that left me emotionally off balance, but from my previous experiences, I just let it go as my part of his dying process. The next morning the chaplain came in to visit. She asked me how I was doing. I hesitated, wondering if she would think I was crazy. She calmly said it's okay, and I explained to her that physically I was okay, but I was a bit concerned about a few things that had been happening. She hugged me and said, "You've started seeing his visitors, and that is okay. They are here for him and not for you." Then she assured me that I wasn't the only family member of various patients who had experienced the visitors. Then she assured me that it was a good thing and my sanity was intact. She explained that I might need to give him permission to leave, as some fear leaving the loved ones here. The next day he was going through his regular afternoon visit. He was babbling to some, but clearly said, "Honey, I'll be there soon." That night when I left, I hugged him, told him that I loved him, and then assured him that I was going to be okay if he felt he needed to go home with Mother. About 3 hours later I received the call that he had passed on. Many friends and family was concerned that I was happy that he had died. I was not happy for his death, yet I could not begrudge him choosing my mother over me, because they had been together for 75 years before she passed and he was miserable without her. Also, I didn't have the emotional energy to try to explain to those concerned about me the experiences I had gone through in his dying process. I decided to let them learn for themselves, or make it a discussion for another day after they had come out of the other side of their grief.